I'm what's left of Mark Parman. I am the Evaluation and Outcomes Measurement Specialist for the Community Organization Training and Technical Assistance Program of the Community and Cultural Outreach Department of the Cherokee Nation. What I do, I work for the department I work for until this year had been totally funded through our tribal businesses. So it was all Cherokee money that was funding our programs. And so the council wanted to make sure that they were getting some kind of bang for their buck. And so that was why I exist, to find out how many organizations we're helping, how many communities are getting services of any kind that wouldn't happen otherwise. So it's that sort of thing. I do some, it's really weird because I don't really evaluate programs like most folks think about it. What I do really is find out if we're providing tools to help other organizations provide programs. So it's really kind of a second level kind of a deal. In this last year, we worked with 96 different Cherokee community organizations. The program started, there were 17 communities providing some kind of programs for their communities. And this last year, we had 127,295 citizens reached through 154 different programs run by those organizations. Most of the, for a long time, the Cherokee Nation was like everybody else. We'd get a federal grant and we'd walk into a community going, here we are, you lucky people, we have the solution to this problem. And of course, 2-3 years later, the grant was gone. And so we pulled out of the community, and the community's looking around going, what happened and why didn't you solve any problems? Is go into communities and say, do you want to, make your community better, and what does that look like to you? And then, when they tell us what that looks like, then we say, well, okay, how would you like us to help you? And whatever that answer is, we bust our buns trying to make sure that we provide them with that assistance, whether it's, how to, file your nonprofit income tax with the feds, or if it's recruiting more board members for a 501c3 that they wanted to start, a nonprofit organization. So sometimes it's just connecting them with other services like our elder nutrition program that is run by a whole different department, but we make the connections and say, okay, you guys need to talk to these people and make something happen. Because the council said, well, we're gonna pony up the money here. It'll come out of our businesses, and we don't have to answer to anybody else. So there's no U.S. funds being, or up until this last year anyway, there hadn't been any funds available from any other source. So we whatever our businesses produced, well, we got a chunk of that and to help our communities. So go to our casinos as much as you can. Early on within our tribal council, we had issues where some people didn't understand the change and were wondering why we weren't going into the community because we were the experts and we could help them. And it's like, no, we don't live there. We're not an expert on that community. I don't live there. I don't know. And so, it took them a while, but I think they've all finally figured it out that, the experts of any particular community live in that community. They know what the problems are and they are the solutions. And our job is simply to give them the resources so they can do whatever it is they needed to do. we're trying to give some tools to our community members, or the members who are of the different nonprofit boards, tools so they can do it themselves. How are you going to know, if you're running this, we have these things called backpack programs where they, especially on Fridays when kids are going home for the weekend, if they're on free or reduced lunches, I mean, they're coming from, most of our people are on those we're, like a lot of places, we're pretty much economically disadvantaged. So these kids get these backpacks full of meals for the weekend. And, it's like, okay, so what is your goal? And now they can tell us that, what they're trying to accomplish. And they're working with, a couple of them are working with their schools and are able to show that not only have disciplinary problems reduced, but classroom performance has increased. So they're doing a lot of that on their own now. So maybe I'm working myself out of a job. I'm not sure which, yeah. They don't really think of it as evaluation. And maybe that's my fault because I haven't really pushed the terminology. But it's like, okay, you've set these goals. How are you going to know you're going to get, that you're moving in that direction? What questions do you have to ask, and who do you have to ask those questions of? Which is really evaluation, but we don't tell them that because they have this weird idea that that's a bad thing. I think it was one of the things that, some of the baggage that we carried for, almost 75, 80 years, where the U.S. federal government appointed our chiefs, and most of those guys served for a day or less, and their whole purpose in life was to sign away some of our land back to the federal government. So they have a real, it's almost, ingrained in the DNA of distrust of anything that looks like, a governmental program. and then of course, when we reconstituted our own government and started doing this thing where we'd come in with a grant and say, oh, we're going to solve this, and then pull out, that didn't help build trust either. So, it took us several years of listening to folks and then doing what they asked us to do for them to figure out that this was different, that we actually had changed the way we were doing business. Maybe some of the other parts of our government aren't, but at least here they knew if they told us something that we would listen and make changes. It's this weird thing where we don't talk about it as evaluation, but really that's what we do. And we cloak it in ideas of helping each other. There's a Cherokee concept that's called, the word is gadugi, which basically translates to people coming together to help each other move forward. We're still struggling, with trying to live that way. I mean, we always do, but we're getting closer all the time, and that feels really good. And that's why I get up and come to work every day.